Welcome to Express Your Genius 5-Day Challenge, Day 2. I'm really excited about today. We're going to cover building your relationship with your intuition and staying connected with that higher knowing and how to do that. Some simple tips and simple ways to do that to start really cultivating this important relationship, and some ways that we can stay connected, stay in our genius, and stay in the flow of receiving that higher knowing. Yesterday, we talked about tapping into the answers that live inside you, as opposed to always be looking for answers externally, which is something that we're culturally bred to do and taught to do and conditioned for our entire lives to do. And so it's really an undoing and unlearning of that. We talked about your highest being accessible to you at all times. It's already there. It's not something that's not there and you have to go and get, or that you have to learn how to find, because it's already there for you. And so it's just really a matter of becoming aware of its presence in you and opening up to it. We talked about the importance of honoring and trusting your intuition, your higher knowing, this genius, as a relationship, and treating it like a relationship, and honoring it and respecting it and giving it the time of day. There is a prompt: how do your intuitive hits arrive? And the prompt was designed in order to be able to have you become more aware and more closely connected to the fact that your intuition does arrive. Every day there are signals and clues and your intuitive hits come. It's just that sometimes we've numbed out so much that we don't recognize that they're even there, or we have brain fog, or we are pulled away and out of connection with ourselves, so we don't recognize that the hits are coming. So how do they arrive for you? Do answer this question for yourself, because it's really important. Because if you want to change anything, you need to first become aware of it and that it exists. So here's what people said about how your intuitive hits are arriving. I get hits, but I shut them down. And even though I know that they're there, I still shut them down. And I even know that I'm shutting them down. I hear my intuitive hits. I'm aware that they're landing, and yet I definitely dismiss them. And so there's an awareness that you're dismissing them. And that is the very seed for growing your awareness from there. So what I want to really encourage you to do is, as you're recognizing that they are coming and you are dismissing them, that you really pay attention to that. Another person said, I have had so many ideas swirling in my head since 4 a.m. this morning. So what's happened for this person is there's been an activation of the intuitive energy that's really given her the energy for receptivity. And she has recognized that they're coming in fast and furious at 4 a.m. I call those downloads. And the more downloads and intuitive hits you get, the more you recognize them and acknowledge them. And we're going to talk about this today, because this is part of cultivating your relationship with them. The more they will arrive. And the more they arrive, the more you become closely connected with the pristinely aligned ideas and clarity of purpose and of your message and of whatever it is that you're looking for, the more connected you become with that, because that is where the most truth-filled information is. It's not out there. If you did not watch yesterday, or you're new here today, or if you're new to me, do watch the replay from yesterday. And I'm just going to give you a really quick intro for today about what I'm here to do and who I am. I won't give you the whole story, because I told a story about who I am as it relates to where we are right now and why I'm here and why we're here. I'm an intuitive business mentor. And what I teach people is I teach people to tap into their own answers that live inside. I teach people to trust their intuitive genius knowing. I teach people to trust in the knowing that provides all the information they need to get clarity on their message, to get clarity on their purpose, to get clarity on the next decision that needs to be made, to get clarity on the business model that works best for them. and to really build this inner trust. What my goal is for you to have your higher intuitive knowing become your best mentor, so that you're not looking outside yourself for the answers. So here's why you want to make your relationship to your higher intuitive knowing your absolute number one relationship. Because communing with the universal intelligence and coming into union with that higher divine wisdom and intelligence and energy body that is available to you is what's going to build trust. And when you align with the master plan of what it is that you're meant to be here to do, and when you really come into union with that and begin to trust it, that becomes paramount to all of your relationships, because that inner trust is what guides and informs and brings other healthy relationships to come into being. And it brings that level of inner trust into all of your other relationships, which make for healthy relationships. When you move your energy to link back up to that universal intelligence, we talked yesterday about dense energy of fear that is held in your body, and the universal energy and the genius, intuitive intelligence that is part of the collective divine intelligence. When you link up your energy with the highest energy, then your frequency raises and meets the frequency of the highest energy. And when that happens, you become a clear vessel and you become a conduit for receiving the information that you need to receive about what your next steps are and what the questions are that you have around where your stuck points are in your business. The biggest, most significant causer of stress and depression and inner conflict is when you place your power outside of yourself, in another person, in another situation, in a circumstance. When you look outside of yourself for the answers, that actually causes stress, because it suppresses your energy. It suppresses the fear that actually drives your need or desire to look for answers outside. When you place your power out there, you're actually closing the gap between you and your intuition. And so whenever you do that, you're actually out of integrity with this relationship with your intuition, because your relationship with your intuition, and we're going to get more deeply into that, is sacred, and it holds really strong integrity. And when you are looking for answers other than through the universal intuitive intelligence that is available to you, you're basically telling your intuition that it comes second and it doesn't matter. When you're looking for feedback from external things or people, or permission from people, or you look at what other people are doing in order to make your decisions, you're actually telling your intuition that its feedback doesn't matter. The trust that there is a master plan is something that comes when you begin to surrender to the fact that you are not in control, and you don't need to be in control, and you don't need to hold on so tight. And when you surrender to the larger, infinite, boundless possibilities that exist, the master divine plan that is available for you starts to drop in for you to start to take action on. I'm going to start right now with your very first prompt today. And so if you want to write this down in your journal or in your notebook, there's 2 prompts today. This thought-provoking question for you that I want you to write down is, where do I place my power outside of myself? Really be asking yourself, where do you place your power outside yourself? Because that is a key component to understanding how you get pulled out of your relationship with your higher knowing. Today, we're going to talk about 8 ways to build and stay in a congruent relationship with your higher genius intelligence. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about common fears that actually prevent us from connecting and from maintaining this beautiful relationship that we ought to have with our intuitive knowing. So, number one is you want to treat your intuition like a friendship. Because if you think about a friendship, what do you do in a friendship? You nurture it. You give it the time of day. You offer yourself fully in a meaningful relationship. You show up honestly. You give it time and attention. When we think about people who have relationship problems in their marriage or in their social circles or in their friendships or with their clients or with any core relationships that people have, when there are issues there and they seek out help, there's a common thread there is that they're always pointed back toward themselves. They're always pointed back toward what is going on inside of you, what is arising in you that's contributing to the issues in the relationship. And so all that to say that all of the answers live inside, and our responsibility, not unlike a friendship or any relationship, is to be responsible for how we show up, who we are inside, and what we believe and feel in our core. And the answers that live inside are in integrity with who we are, and that's how we show up in our relationship, so that we're not looking outside or out there for somebody to fix it or somebody to make it better and or to keep the connection going. The only way you'll build the connection and keep it going is to really treat it like a friendship. Number two is design an alliance with your higher intuitive genius knowing. And what I mean by that is when you think of an alliance, what that means is an alliance is a partnership. It's a collaborative exchange between either two people or more, but in this case, between you and your intuition. It's a partnership where you're actually designing how you want to be together, how you want to show up, what it is that you are going to offer each other. In designing an alliance, you're often encouraged to ask questions about how you would like it to show up. So in terms of designing an alliance with your higher intuitive intelligence and your genius, and I know I use those words interchangeably because they're all the same energy. They're all the higher intelligence that is here and available and already in you that you just are opening the door to and creating a relationship with. And so when you're designing an alliance with your higher intuitive knowing, you're letting it know that you're available to hear it. For instance, that you're available to be listening, that you're going to pay attention to how it arrives, that you would like it to arrive, and you would like it to show up fully as well. So designing an alliance purposefully and intentionally is a way that you can really open the channel and you can build that relationship and friendship and really build on the trust that comes from that. Number three is one way to build the connection and build the relationship is to receive. And I know that sounds really simple, but to intentionally, deliberately, willingly, openly receive what your intuition wants to share with you, wants to tell you. And when you receive it, like when you receive a download in the middle of the night or when you receive an idea, that you actually take a moment and express gratitude and acknowledge it for what it is. Because when it arrives as an intuitive hit, it's landing in your consciousness from your super consciousness. And if you don't receive it and you dismiss it or you shut it down, again, what you're telling it is that it needs to be in the back seat and you're driving, you're in control. This is what I meant earlier when I made the comment about being in control. When you're able to receive it fully and not dismiss it, then you're opening up the gateway for it to flow more regularly, more willingly, more readily, And it's part of that alliance building, right? And so when you don't receive it, and when you automatically dismiss it, I'm going to talk about reasons why we do that in a few minutes. But when you automatically dismiss it and shut it down, what you're doing is you're building a barrier. You're building a huge wall between you and your intuitive knowing. And you cycle around in the questions, the same questions year after year around what am I supposed to be doing? What's my next step? How do I grow my business? How come this isn't working? You're cycling around because you've shut the door to it. So it's a really important component that I want you to understand is the receptivity to it, and then the expression of gratitude. And you can literally, someone asked me yesterday, do you ever have conversations with your intuition? And I said, yes. You can literally say, oh my God, that's an amazing idea. Thank you. So you're actually connecting the idea with where it came from, and you're giving your intuition credit, and you're giving it love, and you're giving it feedback that you really appreciate it. Number 4, if you want clarity, and this is a running theme that I am seeing in this challenge and have been seeing for a long time, which is what prompted me to do the challenge. People struggle with wanting clarity on their message. They want clarity on what their genius is. They want clarity on what their purpose is. They want clarity on how to catapult their business to the next level so that they can feel that alignment with the pure, true nature of who they are. They might be making money, but they're not happy because the alignment isn't there. So the lack of clarity is really the running theme here. When you receive the clues from your intuition as to what your next step is, or it might even be a clue that doesn't seem related to the question that you want to answer. Like if you're asking the question, well, what is the thing that I am here to deliver in the world? If you're receiving a clue from your intuition that doesn't seem related to that, that's part of why often we dismiss it, because we want black and white. We want the answer. We want it to be clear and clean and make sense. When you're receiving clues, if you dismiss the clues as irrelevant, you're shutting your connection off with your intuition. I want to help you shift that in understanding that the clues that come from your intuition are part of the master plan. They're part of the larger knowing about what you're meant to do. Before you know it, your intuition knows it. So when it drops a clue in, even if it doesn't make sense, you need to actually act on it. Taking action creates clarity, because every breadcrumb that your intuition is dropping for you is a piece of the puzzle. And when you take action on the next message, the next breadcrumb that you receive, the next clue that seems kind of unrelated, maybe it's you need to go to the grocery store, or you need to go for a walk, and you dismiss that, then you're telling your intuition that, no, that's not relevant. Let's just get to the point here. Just tell me the answer. But if you went for a walk, on the other hand, you might have met one of your neighbors that came home from a 6-week holiday, that met someone who had information for you that you could plug into your consciousness that would inform your next step. So every time you take action, you create clarity, and you take action on one clue, on one breadcrumb that gets dropped, and every time you take action on that, something else opens and expands in you, and then another breadcrumb drops, and then you take action on that one, and then another one drops, and you take action on that one, and every time you take action, your clarity begins to grow and breathe a life of its own. Every time you say no to the message by not acting on it in some way, or you dismiss it because you think it's not relevant, it's because of some fear in you. It's a fear that's operating in you. The fear of it not making sense. I need to have all my ducks in a row before I take action. I can't take action and make a choice before I have all the information. How on earth can I do that? That is the perfect description of unmagic. Magic happens when you jump off the cliff, and that's a pretty bold action, and you know that the net is going to catch you on the way down. And herein lies building trust with your intuitive intelligence, because every time you take an action, even a small action, you're telling your intuition and you're actually training your brain to connect with that higher part of yourself, and you're telling it that you trust it enough to take an action. Okay, I'll do that. Even though I don't know what the point is, I'll still do that. So you're building and cultivating trust in your intuition by taking action. I want to give you an example of this for the sake of grounding it in. Faith building is something that we have to rebuild from the moment we're born, from very early in our lives, because we're born with all the faith in the world, and then we unlearn to have faith. And so this is an exercise in rebuilding the faith in all that we know, in the all-knowing consciousness that we are a part of. We talked yesterday about being energy and being part of that larger energy consciousness, and it's rebuilding the faith. And when you insist on it making sense and insist on not taking action because you don't know if it's going to be the right choice or not, that is fear speaking. It's your saboteur. It's fear saying, no, this isn't safe. What if this doesn't work? And what you're doing is you're completely cutting yourself off. Here's an example. So when I worked as a career practitioner for 20 years, for reasons that I spoke about briefly yesterday, I knew that I needed and wanted, and something in my soul was calling me and calling me and calling me to launch out on my own and do this my way and become an entrepreneur that could really tap into the inner core of what I was meant to do here in the world. And when I made the decision to do it, it was like jumping off the cliff. When I jumped off the cliff, it took me a couple of years to make that decision. My goal for everybody is to just not take that long. But that was my process, that was my journey, and I jumped off the cliff. But I knew there was a net going to catch me, and the reason I knew that was because of the 20 years worth of spiritual work that I had done in building that inner core trust muscle in myself and building that connection with the divine and with the higher consciousness. I had spent years doing that. And so I did not know what the hell was going to happen when I quit my job. But I knew that I had to, and I knew that the net would catch me. If you have any questions along the way, please type in your comments, or if you have any aha moments, let me know. Number 5, when ideas are swirling in your head, and you've got this idea and that idea and this idea and that idea, and you wonder, people have asked me, well, how do I know if it's my intuition or not? And here's what I'm going to say about that, is when you get an intuitive hit, it's usually the initial hit that you get that is bang on. The very next thought after that is not your intuition. And that's why people question their intuition, because you might get an intuitive hit of, I'm going to do a live stream on this topic. And meanwhile, the next thought might be, yeah, but how does that make sense to my overall message that I want to impart? I'm not even clear on my message. So until I'm clear on it, I'm just really not going to express. And that intuitive hit is your genius landing inside of you. And that is the right action to take. Any thought that comes after the intuitive hit that isn't congruent with it, that wants to keep you safe, that is based in fear, is what's going to keep stopping you and keep you in the cycle of anxiety and questioning and self-doubt. When you start to work with the subconscious programming that happens in response or, on the heels of an intuitive hit, when you start really digging deeper into the core of what's happening in that programming, you can raise it to the surface, you can expose it for what it is, you can start transforming it from fear and into the higher truth and into the faith that we're talking about. So the trust here is a running theme throughout this entire conversation. Number 6, stop trying. Stop trying to find your genius. Stop trying to find your perfect message. Stop trying to make it all work. Stop trying to get the right answer. Stop trying to find what the right next step is. Because what the trying energy will do, it's a fairly dense energy. When you're in that dense energy of trying, there's this energy behind it of needing to accomplish something, needing to have the results, needing to make money, needing to get clients, needing to get going, needing and desperately trying to get the answers. And what that does is it completely disallows the effortlessness of the inherent genius intuitive flow that is just ready and on the cusp of streaming through you. If you would allow it to flow effortlessly and give it up for your intuition, give it up for your genius, let go of control, surrender and release the trying, the effortlessness starts to really flow through. Your genius will come to you effortlessly. It will not make itself available to you when you are trying. I wanted to include here that when I was talking about when you know it's your intuition versus when it's not your intuition, yes, one way to know that is the initial hit is usually the intuition and the second one is not. You'll know by the way that your body responds, because your body responds to every single thought that you have, including the subconscious ones that you are completely unaware of. And when you know it's an intuitive hit, you will feel expansiveness in your chest. You will feel goosebumps. You will feel chills. You will feel tingles. When the non-intuitive thought comes and tries to convince you that it's your intuition, it feels contractive. You feel tight in your chest, in your belly, in your throat. Your body's intelligence is equally as important. Wanting proof is a clear indicator that you're in your fear. Because we're born and conditioned to, you have to see it to believe it. We're not taught that you must believe it to see it. And this is a huge paradigm shift that can make a world of difference for you. And it turns the idea that you have to see it to believe it on its head when you begin to release the need for proof, release the need for evidence, release the need to see it before you'll believe it, and flip into the new paradigm of believing it to see it. Therein lies where the work is. And in order to really get to that place, you have to start unraveling all of the subconscious programming that's been going on in the background, and that is continuously showing up to prevent your intuitive flow. It's exhausting to hold that energy of trying, and it's so liberating and freeing and life-giving to give it up to the higher knowing, to that larger part of yourself that knows way more than you do, and is ready and is so willing for you to let it in. There's value in being able to establish your desire and what you want to create and set intentions and goals to call in powerfully what it is that you want. It's almost like goal setting is up here and intuition is down here somewhere. The scales need to tip, where you need to recognize when you're forcing, when you're pushing, when you're trying. You set your goals and you're trying to establish what it is that you want to create, and you've forgotten to just step back and allow intuition to actually be in the driver's seat to inform you. As you build this trust, we're talking about a deep trust building here. And as you build this trust, you are going to be able to start calling your intuition in on demand. You are going to be able to start learning how to ask questions, receive the answers. Ask questions, receive the answers. And it's an art, it's a practice, and trust is the foundational piece that needs to be really solid and anchored into your soul in order for you to be able to do that. And that's how we expand forward and start really moving forward into creating the reality that we want. You can call in ideas, you can call in answers to your questions by asking. And what you start to do is to channel through information on demand. And that is really important to know that you can do that. You may not start off there or knowing how to do that, or even knowing where to start with that. But that is where you'll get to if you continue on with adopting this paradigm, this mindset of trusting and building and connecting with your intuitive intelligence each and every day. So stop trying was number 6. Number 7 is expectation. Expect that you're going to receive the ideas that you need. Expect you're going to receive the information and the resources that you need. Expect that you will receive the abundance that you desire. And that energy of expectation, when you think of a small child who just expects magic, who expects Santa Claus to show up, who expects to be loved, who has these expectations that magic is real, that's the energy of expectation that I'm talking about, is really expecting the magic. Abracadabra, right? I can make things happen. I have all the resources. I have this intuitive, amazing genius, intelligence that is available to me. So much magic is possible. Right? So this expectation. And number 8 is daily practice. So in building this relationship with your higher intelligence, with your intuitive genius knowing, is really important to intend on and commit to and decide on a daily practice. We started yesterday with starting to notice when the hits come in, how they're arriving. Make it a daily practice to record your ideas, to act on your ideas, to express appreciation. Like take 30 seconds to talk to your intuition and express your gratitude. So you're recognizing, and if you look at the daily practice in terms of evolving it, I have a tool that I use with my clients for that. In a nutshell, you recognize your intuition, you express gratitude, you receive it, you recognize it, you receive it, you record it, act on it, do something with it, and release whatever's in your way of not trusting it, receiving it. So if you recognize it's an intuitive hit and you're not able to receive it, part of the daily practice is to release what is inhibiting you from receiving it. That is the work, is to really just be continuously releasing, and recognizing what it is that you need to release is an art in itself. It's part of the work. And then you recalibrate. You bring yourself back into center because you know you've been pulled out, you know that something has prevented you from connecting, and you're releasing. Now you need to recalibrate and bring yourself back into the center point of flow and connectivity and relationship with your intuitive guidance. The recalibration tool is something that I've developed for myself over many years, and now so many people are benefiting from. So, prompt number 2, this is the second prompt, is I want you to write this down. Think of a time when you jumped without a net. You might have been a kid, might have been recent, it might have been in early adulthood, whenever it was, but think of a time when you literally jumped without knowing the answers and what happened. If you can't think of anything right now, write it down and intend to receive the answer. So, 2 prompts. The first prompt is, how are you giving your power away? Where are you placing your power outside of yourself? Other people, things, situations, circumstances. And the second prompt question for this challenge is, think of a time when you jumped without a net. The 8 steps to building your connection with your intuition, I'm just going to review them really quickly. Treat it like a friendship. Design an alliance with it. Number 2. Number 3, receive it and intentionally experience gratitude. Number 4, take action. Take the next right action without knowing why, without knowing that it makes sense without knowing how it even fits into the plan that you might have. Number 5, when ideas start swirling, go with the first idea and recognize what comes after that idea. Recognize it for what it is, if it's fear. Number 6, stop trying. Number 7 is embody a mindset of expectation. And number 8, develop a daily practice for yourself. And there's just so much more to say about that. These are just little nuggets for you to take away today. So I would like to know what your big takeaways are from today. I would love to know your answers to the 2 prompts. If you answer them, what that's doing is it's fueling your genius, actually, because you're expressing what's in here and you're bringing it out. And genius expression comes from doing the inner work, expressing what's coming up for you, expressing your experience and sharing it. And I want to say that every time someone expresses something, if one person says something and shares something, it will help 5 other people. I hope it's been helpful for you, and let me know what your takeaways are. All right, take care. Bye-bye.